So, okay, welcome to this lesson. But before I go over to the review of topics on indices, I'm going to unlock them. I'm going to just do a brief review on concept on what on indices. So I'm just going to do this now on indices to give us a base. Right now, in indices, there are about 7 laws in indices. One of it is called the multiplication law. So a multiplication law. So what you do is, if you have a number to a certain base, multiply by the same base to a certain power, say m, for instance. So what this says, the rule is that pick one of the base and add the powers. For example, if I have 3 raised to the power of 2 times 3 raised to the power of 4, this will give me, I have the same base and different powers. This is the base, this is the power. Pick one of the base and add the powers. 2 plus 4, this will give me 3 to the power of 6. So this is all about multiplication law. So wherever the case be, whether it's a negative number, so let's assume that I have 5 to the power of minus 2 times 5 to the power of 3. This will give me 5 to the power of minus 2 plus 3. And this gives me 5 minus 2 plus 3 is 1. So this is the multiplication law as stated by indices. Alright, now let's move on to the second law. The second law is the multiplication, is the division law. Second is the division law. Okay, so this first is multiplication law. Division law says that if I have, say, a number, a base to the power, say a, and this is dividing the same base to a different number, say m. What division law says is that I'm going to pick one of the base and then I will subtract the powers. Pick one of the base, subtract the powers. So if I have 4 raised to the power 3 divided by 4 raised to the power 5, you know this is cannot be written as 4 raised to the power 3 divided by 4 raised to the power 5. So what do? The law says pick one of the base and multiply it and subtract the powers. It's going to become 4, 3 minus 5. It's going to give me 4. 3 minus 5. Remember, 5 is bigger than 3. So whenever a bigger number is subtracting a small number, whenever a small number is subtracting from a bigger number, the answer is always negative. So 3 minus 5 is going to be minus 2. Why 5 minus 3 is going to be 2. 3 minus 5 is minus 2, whereas 5 minus 3 is 2. So this is the final answer to this question. So that's all about the division laws. Alright, so now we've considered 2 laws. This is just a brief review of the concept of indices. Alright, so let's move on to the third law, which is, we're going to move to the third law, which is the zero power law. And we're going to look at the negative inverse law as law number 4 and move on. So let's look at the third law, which is the zero power law. So we'll come to the third law, which is the zero power law. Zero power law. This law says that any number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Any number at all, right? So it could be 5 raised to the power of 0. That will give me 1. It could be 100 raised to the power of 0. It should be 1. It could be c raised to the power of 0. It should be 1. So whatever the number is, as long as that number is raised to the power of 0, the answer is 1. So how can we apply this? This question sometimes might not come directly as this, but it could be a combination of the multiplication law and division law. And then while you solve, you get there. So let's take an example. I may have a question that says 2 raised to the power of 3 times 2 raised to the power of minus 4. All of this divided by, all of this is divided by 2 raised to the power of, okay, so let's look at something here. Now all of this divided by 2. So how do I solve this? So first of all, you can see that what we've done is that we've combined multiplication law and division law. So what do I do? Take them one after the other. Deal with the numerator, which is multiplicative law. Once you're done with that, you will come over to solve the division law. So what do I do? The same base, I'm going to pick one of the base, and then multiplication says add the power. So this is going to be 3 plus, remember this is the plus, and then I have a minus here, so be careful to put that in a bracket, and then I have all of this divided by 2. All of this divided by 2. So if I move on from here, what is this going to give me? This is, I'm going to take the base for the numerator, which is 2. 3 plus minus 4 is going to give me 3 minus 4. Alright, so this automatically is going to become 3 minus 4. So this is 3 minus 4, which is equals to 3 minus 4 is what, class? So what do you think? Work that out. What do you get? If you subtract 3 from 4, what do you get? If your answer is as guess at mine, that means you arrive at minus 1, alright? So your answer would be a minus 1. So, okay, okay, please let's look at something. Let's change this one to minus 1, okay? We are arriving at somewhere. Let's change this to minus 1. So let's assume that the equation was given to us from the beginning is 2 raised to the power minus 1. I'm going somewhere. So we've gotten 2 raised to the power minus 1 in numerator already. Then we have divide by 2 raised to the power minus 1 in numerator from the original equation now, remember. So now that we have this, what do we do? We've come to division law. Division law says when you have two base to the power dividing each other, pick one of the numbers and then subtract the power. So it's going to become minus 1. Division is minus, mind you, and then I have a minus 1 here again. Alright, so what does this mean? This gives me 2 minus 1. Minus times minus is plus, and then I have 1 here. Okay, so what is minus 1 plus 1? That's going to give me 0. So you see that we'll work out from here back to this point, and once I get to this point, there's no need of being confused because I already know that 2 plus 0 is equal to 1. So you see that the answer to this question from the beginning is going to give me 1. Alright, so that's how you apply the laws, understanding each of the concepts as you walk through in the question that is given to you. So this is the answer to this question. Alright, so we've applied the multiplication law, we've applied the division law, we've also applied the zero power law. Now let's move on to look at the negative inverse law. Alright, so we'll see that in the next lesson.